G'day, I'm Brett, I'm a freelance videographer. So if you shoot on any camera that records in log, but you want to be able to edit with color graded proxies, you might find this useful. I'm demonstrating this on a Sony A7S3 with the Phantom Arri neutral LUT, but as far as LUTs go, you can use whatever you want. Because I'm also adding an FX6 into my kit later this year, I've made some presets for that as well. Now this is pretty straightforward, but Media Encoder does have a few bugs that you should be wary of, and I'll point them out as we move through it. It can be a little bit of faffing getting it all set up, but once you're done, making these proxies is super easy. So let's get into it. Okay, so I've created a little project here in Premiere Pro with some sample footage from an A7S3 and an FX6. I'm just going to create a sequence to pull all of that footage into, and we'll have a look at it. We'll use my UHD preset, which is for 3840 by 2160, 25 frames a second, and I'm just going to pull all of that in. So that's all the A7S stuff. It's all shot in S-Log3, which is why it looks flat. And then that's the FX6 stuff, which was also shot in S-Log3, but it doesn't look quite right there because I haven't converted it yet. So I'm just going to delete that, go back to the FX footage. Oops. We go modify, interpret footage, color space override, rec 709, okay. And then we can pull it in, and that's correct. You can see that it looks flat compared to how it looked before. And I've just rescaled these last two clips, which are shot in DCI. So because DCI is a little bit wider than 16:9, that's why I've got the black bars on it. These ones are all shot in 16:9 UHD. If you have a look here as well, you can see I've also shot, well, we've shot some clips in 50 frames, some clips in 25p, and same deal here. I've supplied some clips in 50 and 25p for this footage. All right, so what this is all about is creating proxies with a custom LUT built in. Now, the LUT that I'm using is called the Phantom LUT. They're really popular with Sony shooters, I think in particular. If you just Google Phantom LUTs, and it'll take you to Joel Famularo's website, and then you can go download them from there. Basically just follow this straight through, head to the Arri looks, that's what I'm using. That's if you want to use the same LUT, but really this workflow applies to literally any LUT that you want to use. Cool. So if we go back to this, I'll just make a quick adjustment layer and show you that LUT. Drop that on there. And then if I go to color, I keep my LUTs in the creative panel. We'll go down there, and it's called Neutral A7S3. And it should update, that's it. So that's with the LUT on, and that's off. And now for the FX, they also made one for the FX6. Oh, there it was, neutral FX6. And that's it there. This footage is slightly underexposed, so it's not quite looking perfect, but because we just shot it kind of on the fly in a break on a shoot yesterday, but yeah, it's it'll do. Then if I head across the Media Encoder, I'll show you how to create those presets. So first thing we want to do is make a new encoding preset. So I'm going to click on that, and we'll start with the A7S3. So I'm going to call this A7S3 S-Log3 proxy with LUT. We're going to go H.264. I did some tests between H.264 and QuickTime proxy files, and I found that the H.264 files were, they actually handled the LUT a bit better than the QuickTime files did. And so basically image quality wise, image quality of the proxy of the H.264 files was actually better than the ProRes proxy files. But that's not always the case. It just happens to be the case for the A7S3 footage. So we're going to check our frame size. I like to go 1920 by 1080. Frame rate, we'll keep that as based on source. I used to do specific frame rates for different proxies like 25p, 50p, etc., but you just start to create too many presets. It gets a bit messy, so I'm just going to keep that as based on source. We'll untick that and make sure it says progressive. We'll untick this and make sure it says square pixels. We'll go right down, and that is all good. I like to use constant bitrate, and I like to go 15 megabits per second just because that's about the same data rate as what I like encode finished videos for. So it just looks good, and it's also, it plays back really fast and efficiently in any editor. Okay, audio, we'll just check that. That's all good. Make sure it's stereo. That's cool. Basically, you just want to have the same audio format as what the native files in the camera are recording. And then we go across to effects. So this is the important bit where we tick that, and we need to add a LUT. So you'll see when you go to the drop-down menu that you've just got all of these like Adobe default like random LUTs in there that are completely useless. We go to select, and then it should bring up a window. If it doesn't bring up a window, Media Encoder can be a little bit buggy sometimes. Then just save it, reopen it, and it should bring up the window. So I've got my LUTs stored in a folder within like the Premiere Pro file structure where basically my LUTs are installed. So I just go there and reference it from there. But yeah, so I'd recommend creating these shortcuts in your side panel for where you want to like access LUTs easily and access other stuff easily as well. And there it is, neutral A7S3.cube. So I'm going to open that. Now, this is the funny thing. You don't actually think it's worked because when it says applied, it just says none. That's just what it'll say, but it has applied, so don't stress about it. And now we go down to image overlay. Now, you don't have to do this step, but I kind of like to. So basically, this is a good way to put a little watermark onto your proxy so that you know that you're looking at a proxy. I've just done this since way back in the day when I first started using proxies. I downloaded a watermark by this guy, who is Matt Johnson, YouTube Proxies. Here's his video. Not the 2022 one, but the old one. And yeah, he's like, this was how I originally learned how to make proxy files. And you can get his presets, which are out of date now, but you can get his presets along with the watermark that he created and download that. And it's just a handy little watermark. All right, so I'm just going to grab that watermark image. So we go choose, and I've got mine in my presets folder in Media Encoder. It's just this one here. Hit open. Keep the sizing absolute. Put the position in the bottom right. That always works well for me. And don't need any name overlay. You can use it if you want, but don't have to. You don't have to do anything. Can leave all of that. That's all totally fine. And we checked audio before. That was, yep, 320 and stereo. That's all good. So that's basically everything, I'm pretty sure. And so the only other thing we're going to do is copy that text and then hit OK. And then we're going to make a new ingest preset. Now, if you don't get this exact type of screen for when you create a new ingest preset, you might get the same window as what you got when you created the new encoding preset. Then that's a bug in Media Encoder, which the latest version of it is doing. That just did that to me before when I was testing this out. And what I had to do was open up Creative Cloud, go to other versions and like install the previous version of Media Encoder. So thanks for that, Adobe. And anyway, that fixed to that. We're going to tick transcode files to destination, and then we grab the preset that we made just before, A7S3 proxy with LUT. Okay, so it asked me to choose a destination path. So I have just chosen the folder that I was in and hit OK. All right, now if I go across to here, we'll go back to the editing tab. We'll switch off the color grade. We'll go to my A7S3 footage. Select it all. Create proxies. Switch this to H.264. And then we're going to add ingest preset. And there's our ingest preset. Hit open there. That's accepted it. And then I'm also going to select a location to put these. I'm just going to put them in a folder of my own called Proxies. And then we'll hit OK. And then let's just see how that goes. You can see here it's already got the LUT on the proxy files. If you can look closely, there's a little watermark there as well. But yeah, that's basically just burning through all that footage and putting proxies on. So we'll just let that go. This is good to see this working properly as well, the frame rate based on source. So previously these were 25 frames a second, and now you can see these new proxies are generating at 50 frames per second. So no problems there, so that's good. All right, it's just finished all of them. So we'll go back across to Premiere and flick on our proxies, and there they are. And that just scrolls through nice and easy, nice and quick. And yeah, great colors on them as well. So that's got the phantom LUT burnt in, which is really cool. So now we're going to move on to doing the proxies for the FX6 footage. And you can see FX6, it's like, even though this is like a M1 Max MacBook Pro, it's still not super smooth playing it all back, and it's only going to get a little bit slower once I, add in color grades and all that kind of stuff. So this is why proxies are awesome. So let's start with the UHD footage. And as we can see, there's 4 channels of audio, which means that the H.264 codec won't be any good for that because you can only do 2 channels in that. So we're going to go back across to Media Encoder. We're going to make ourselves another encoding preset. We're going to call this FX6 S-Log3 UHD for Ultra HD proxy with LUT. And then we're going to switch this to QuickTime. We are then going to go through our video settings first. We don't need HQ, we'll just do 422 proxy. We'll keep that 1920 by 1080. Keep that based on source, progressive, aspect, square, that's good. That's all good. All right, awesome. Audio, we saw that the other file had 4 channels. If we look back there, 4 channels. So we'll do 4 channels here. It's pretty important that you get the audio settings the same between the camera file and the proxy file, otherwise Premiere won't accept it. And now we're gonna tick Lumetri look. We're gonna go look for that LUT again, and you can see it's just done this thing that it just sometimes does, which you go to select and nothing comes up. So we'll hit OK. This is the joy of working with Adobe Media Encoder. We'll go back, let's try that again. There we go. All right, so neutral FX6 cube. Got that, it says none, but it's there. And we'll go to image overlay. We'll go grab our picture that we put in the presets folder. Add that in, chuck it in the bottom right. Absolute sizing, that's good. Thank you, Matt Johnson. We'll leave name, leave timecode, leave all that stuff. That's all good. I think that's it. Let's see, double check. Yeah, looks pretty good. Okay, so we'll copy that text, hit OK. Now we make our ingest preset. Create ingest preset, paste that text, call it ingest. Okay, I've still got a little file path selected. That's good. This file path is basically meaningless because you end up setting the file path in the in Premiere Pro as well. So yeah, you don't even need to worry about that at all. We want to change this to QuickTime. Then we want to grab our new preset, which is this one here, S-Log3 UHD proxy. Okay, all right. So now back across to Premiere Pro, we're looking at our UHD clips there, which are, if I go across to here, you can see these ones here. These are all our, so it's those three and that, oh no, not that one. Oh no, that's just a sequence. So yeah, it's just those three clips that are UHD. So we're gonna make proxies of them. Create proxies. Okay, we'll switch this to QuickTime. Yeah, we're bloody cooking with gas now, aren't we? So S-Log3 UHD proxy with LUT ingest. Open. Keep that destination the same. And let them encode. And just ignore that it's a bit underexposed. That's just the way we shot it. Wasn't really, yeah, it's not perfect exposure. Don't stress about that. All right, they're done. We'll go back. Let's take a look at these. This one's probably the best exposure of them all. Proxy off. That's just the flat S-Log3 full quality image. And that's our proxy file. We've got our little proxy watermark there. And we've got the LUT burnt on. So that's awesome. All right, one more to do. And that's for our DCI shots. So that's these last two clips just here. So let's go back across to here. Let's make our last little set of proxies. New encoding preset. And I've just pasted that in again, but I'm going to change this to DCI proxy with LUT. And go down. All right, so I'm going to change the audio to 8 channels because that's what we've got. 8 channels of audio. So go over to that, got 8 channels. Video we'll stick with, oh no, that's 422HQ. We'll go to 422 proxy. Don't need to be out of control. And because these are DCI, which is 4096, we just want to do half that. So that is going to be 2160 by 1080. So no, 2160, that's not right. 2048, my bad. 2048 by 1080. Is that correct? 2048, yeah, is half of 4096, which is, and 1080 is half of 2160. So yeah, that's all good. All right, frame rate, keep that based on source so we don't have to do multiple different presets. Square pixels, yep, that's all good, that's all good. All right, effects, same deal as before. Let's chuck in that LUT. It worked that time, which is good. Neutral FX6 .cube. Okay, that's on there. Image overlay, let's chuck in our little watermark, which is in my other folder. There it is. Bottom right. And absolute sizing. That's it. Save a copy. I saved it. All right. Cancel. Let's see. Where's my DCI thing? I just want to double check that that's all good because, again, just weird stuff in Thingo in this just bring up save a copy instead of like save. Okay. I think it's fine. Okay, I'm just going to copy that text. Make ourselves a new ingest preset. Call it ingest. Switch this to QuickTime. That's already grabbed it. That's good. And that's it. Okay. All right. Let's make LUTs for these last two. One of them is 25, one of them is 50. Proxies. All right. It's the FX6 DCI proxy with LUT ingest. And importantly here, don't tick add watermark. If you tick add watermark, it will not give you your graphic element, which is our actual watermark. Add watermark works when you use one of the preset things like ProRes medium resolution proxy or something like that. It puts in its own little proxy symbol watermark, but none of that applies to our custom proxies. So don't do that one. So we're doing the DCI version, which is the wider aspect ratio, and we hit OK. All right. So it's just generating them. You can see it's cooking the LUT in. We'll go back to here. And there you can see we've got our footage, which is nice and snappy, quick to move, got plenty of color on it. It's got all the channels of audio, no issues. If I switch that off, that's the original footage. I can switch this on, and that's our full quality footage with the LUT over the top of it. And yeah, it's all there. So I'm currently looking at the full quality. And then if I switch that off, I'm looking at full quality with no grade. And then if I switch proxies on, I'm looking at proxy files with the LUT burnt in, which I've been using lately to assemble edits and stuff before doing the final color grade, and it works an absolute treat. So that's it. Hope that helps you.